There's a new country, a new player in the citizenship by investment space. That is the Republic of Georgia. One Georgian official in China announced that Georgia plans to roll out a citizenship by investment program for exactly 250,000 euros. Now, obviously, you will need to add some lawyer fees, due diligence fees, passport fees on top of that. So let's call it 350,000 euros, around that. A lot of people are excited for this. Obviously, Georgia is a pretty popular country because they don't tax foreign source income. It's developing pretty well, although it's really not one of my favorite countries. I don't really like going to Tbilisi that much. I prefer more Batumi, Kazbegi. I've been to Georgia many times. Not one of my favorite countries, but a lot of our viewers here absolutely love it. If this program is actually legitimate, because there are some red flags. We're gonna talk about the exact program, the legal basis of the program, but also the bad things about it, because there's some things that really scream scam, or overall that this will never be launched. Now, the legal basis is Article 17.2 of Georgia's nationality law, which essentially allowed the president to grant citizenship to anyone around the world, regardless of nationality, regardless of how long they've stayed in Georgia, based on exceptional contributions or state interests. For example, Serbia has a very similar law, my Serbian passport right here, where they allow citizenship to people that make a big enough contribution to the country, regardless of how much time they've actually spent in Serbia. So Georgia now is planning to use this particular law to make it an official program. Now, the company that is operating this particular program is called the Georgia Growth Fund. They signed the memorandum with the Georgia Ministry of Economy, and the only authorized agent for this program, that's where the red flags start to come in, is called Fast Profit Corporation Limited, a company based in Hong Kong and mainland China. And obviously, this is meant to attract Chinese investors mostly. One of the funny things about the program is that Taiwanese nationals cannot apply. So obviously, Georgia has picked a side on this program very clearly in the whole China-Taiwan debate. This company that has the license, or is the authorized agent, Fast Profit Corporation, is owned by another company called Beauty Land LLC, which claims to have around 13 offices and more than 300 employees, but all this information has not been confirmed as of yet. They still haven't said how long the program will actually take from the moment when you apply to the moment when you actually get your citizenship, because for example, I made a video on how we got citizenship by exception for one of our clients in less than 90 days. Maybe that is the case in this program where you can get it relatively quickly, or maybe it's the case of you're gonna be waiting 1 or 2 years plus in order to get your Georgian passport, but you're gonna get it without actually having to live in Georgia, so it's gonna be pretty helpful. You need documents like birth certificate, marriage certificate, if that's applicable, police clearance, passport size pictures, power of attorney in order to do the application, and then application forms. Pretty standard documentation, no extra due diligence. And also another big red flag, which is why I think this program ultimately will shut down, is that there is no source of funds verification. Unlike most citizenship by investment programs, most citizenship by exception programs, they don't care where your money comes from, which obviously opens the door for a lot of people with criminal history and with dirty money to apply for this program. And that's going to trigger the European Commission and the European Union, because Georgian nationals have access currently to the Schengen area. That's going to trigger an investigation. That's going to trigger them looking at this program. That's going to trigger them eventually pushing Georgia to cancel this program altogether. The same way that they made Moldova cancel their program. Moldova, a couple of years ago, actually announced a citizenship by investment program. They had a lot more due diligence than this. They said they were going to be very strict on who they let into Moldova and who was going to get citizenship in Moldova. But because they wanted thousands of applicants, the European Commission eventually shut down the program and bullied them into closing it, just because they have access to the Schengen area. They don't want this dirty money coming into the European Union, and those are their words. Obviously, they don't want this dirty money. They don't want these evil rich people coming into the European Union. The free refugees, the ones that are not contributing to society, please come in. But the evil rich, no, we don't want them. That would be the European Commission speaking. This program will be open to all nationalities around the world, as I said, except Taiwanese nationals, which also is a bit of a red flag because they don't restrict any nationalities that are sanctioned, for example. They also don't restrict nationalities like Russia and Belarus. We will really see how this program actually continues, because if, for example, the European Commission or the Schengen area eventually allow this program to come through, they might have to add a restricted nationalities list, whether that's some African countries, some sanctioned countries like Iran, Cuba, etc. They're gonna have to add more nationalities to this list if they actually want thousands of applicants, apart from just having Taiwan as the only restricted nationality. This program aims to attract around 1 billion euros in investments over the next 5 years. If you divide 1 billion by 250,000 euros, that is 4,000 applicants over the next 5 years. So let's call it 1,000 applicants per year. So we're talking about a scalable citizenship program, not just a small citizenship by exception where 4 or 5 people a month get the program. We're talking about hundreds or thousands of people per year. And really quick, I've started a private email list called the Wealthy Expat Inner Circle. If you want to get value directly from me, private citizenship, private tax optimization, private asset protection programs, only available through that email list. Make sure to go to the link in the description, put in your name and your email, and you'll get it directly from me. Now, let's talk about the actual passport and the power of the Georgian passport. A lot of people, if they got a Georgian passport for free, or if it was pretty accessible, they would do it. I would get a Georgian passport, even though I don't like Georgia that much, and I already have passports that are way better. So for example, if we compare Georgia to 3 other programs that we talk about here a lot, or 3 other passports, I should say, not programs. The passports that we talk about here a lot are Serbia, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Mexico. Obviously, St. Kitts and Nevis, you can just get it by investment, is around the same price point, adding on the fees and everything. It's gonna be around 300K USD, around 280 something thousand euros. With Mexico, you can get permanent residency and then apply for citizenship later. And Serbia, as I said, has a citizenship by exception program if you actually want to commit to the country. So as you can see, all these passports have a higher ranking, with Mexico being the top one. Out of the 4, they all have better rankings than Georgia. Georgia still has pretty good access, Schengen area, you got Russia, you got China, you got good access to the world, but it's still not at the level of being really competitive at that price point with St. Kitts and Nevis. Why a lot of people would prefer Georgia is because it's a real country. Obviously, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, Grenada are real countries. I have one of these passports, but if you were to live in one of these countries, you're much more likely to live in Georgia than you are in St. Kitts and Nevis or any of these other Caribbean islands. And also having a Georgian passport is better for KYC processing. It's better tax-wise because you can actually go to Georgia and become a tax resident as a Georgian. You don't need to learn the crazy language that they speak. So overall, you can go to Georgia, get foreign source income at 0% tax, become a tax resident very easily as a Georgian citizen, and actually live in Georgia, invest in Georgia. Whereas getting a St. Kitts passport or one of these other Caribbean passports, you're really just getting it just for the citizenship and the passport, whereas Georgia could actually be your real home. Another reason why people would choose Georgia, although some people hate the European Union, they don't want to be a member of the EU, but some people are interested in it long term, is that Georgia is a candidate to join the European Union. Now, I don't see this happening over the next 10 years or more, just because accession talks were suspended until 2028. Obviously, a lot of protests erupted. There was chaos all over Georgia because Georgians want to join the European Union. Sometimes when I go to Tbilisi, Georgia, I see more European Union flags than I see Georgian flags. It's kind of insane. People really want to join the European Union. And if you asked Georgians, they would probably vote to join the European Union. It would be similar to Moldova, where they did a vote to join the European Union and people voted for joining. The same thing probably is going to happen to Georgia, but at a way higher percentage. In Moldova, it was kind of 50-50. In Georgia, I would say is almost 80-20, 80% to yes, let's join the European Union. So if you're looking for a European passport in the long term that is not European Union yet, then this could be a good program if it actually gets launched. And remember, if you want to review all of your citizenship options all over the world and you want to talk to us one-on-one to see which passport and which citizenship program fits you best, you can always book a call with the link in the description, and we are happy to help you. Now, a couple other problems with this program is, one is the lack of transparency. As I said, this fast profit corporation is the only authorized agent, which is a huge red flag. It sounds like a money-making scheme. The law on which the program is based on basically allows the president to give anybody citizenship, and they might extend that to anybody high up in the government is allowed to give anybody citizenship, which might allow for people to bribe government officials and just get citizenship illegitimately, like what happened in Cyprus, for example, and then the program got shut down, or people are paying more just because they have a criminal record. So there's just a lot of gaps in that nationality law. If they actually launch a full-blown citizenship by investment program where thousands of people are applying, thousands of people, even tens of thousands of people want to get this citizenship, that obviously allows for exploitation and allows for people that shouldn't get this citizenship, that shouldn't pass the due diligence, to actually pass it just because they pay more. And then that's going to ruin the reputation of the passport. That's going to cut the visa-free access to places like the Schengen area. Also, it's very clear that the program is targeted towards China and Chinese investors. They launched it or announced it in China. They want to get as many Chinese investors as possible. They don't really want to target the rest of the world. They just want to target China, which is in itself a bit of a red flag. Why China? Are they just going to allow people to get their money out of China, which then causes concerns with the Chinese government? Because obviously they have capital controls. So is that a way for Chinese citizens to get their money out of China and into Georgia in order to get a second passport? And then there's dual nationality restrictions, and that's going to be a problem in itself. So I see that causing a lot of chaos in the future with the Chinese government directly, because these people are going to be taking money out of China if they're targeting it exclusively to China through Chinese promotion companies. If this program is legitimate, if it's going to open up to other nationalities apart from just Chinese investors, and if the program is properly launched, the European Commission doesn't bully them to close it, and so on, is it going to be successful? Obviously, yes. The access, although there are passports that are better, for example, I would prefer a Serbian one, so a person like me wouldn't really spend 250 grand on a Georgian passport just because I don't need it and I'm not particularly interested in Georgia. Somebody that has a St. Kitts passport and renounced US citizenship might be interested in this. Somebody that is a European Union citizen and wants some sort of plan B might be interested in this. Obviously, Russian, Belarusian, Chinese investors are going to prefer this for better visa-free travel. And overall, you have good access to the world. So obviously, thousands of people around the world are going to be interested in this. We just have to see if it actually gets launched. What are the exact requirements of the program? How is the due diligence going to be done? Because they said no source of funds required, which is it's a huge red flag in my opinion. So let's be careful. Let's see what happens with this program. If you want to get a second citizenship and you want to see all the countries around the world that offer legit citizenship by investment and citizenship by exception program opportunities, you want to check them out right here. Check out this video right here on all the countries around the world that offer some sort of citizenship by investment or donation program. You're going to learn a lot. Watch it right here.